Hi guys, my name's Alana. Welcome back to That Grunge Girl, my YouTube channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. I make mental health videos on this channel. I have a lot of different playlists on different mental health topics if you're interested in checking them out. And yeah, I'd love for you to join this community and educate yourself and support one another in your mental health journey. So for this week's video, I'm going to be doing a video talking about how to make friends as an adult. And this can be really hard for people who have mental health issues and people who don't have mental health issues. But obviously having things like anxiety disorders or mood disorders or, any sort of neurological disorder or disability in general makes it quite hard to make friends. And there's a lot of maybe extra barriers in the way to making friends. And it's definitely not very easy, especially nowadays with so much social media and overload of content on Netflix and online. People are tending to want to stay isolated and in their houses, especially with COVID, post COVID, and everything. So yeah, I wanted to give you some advice on some ways that what I do. And, honestly, like I don't really have that many friends. I have always really struggled with making friends. It's been very hard for me to make friends. And, having BPD also can make it very difficult to maintain friendships. But I'm going to be sharing some advice and things that I've learned that has helped me. I definitely don't have a load of friends. I just have a couple people that kind of see every now and then. I don't really hang out with people regularly, maybe every few months, but it doesn't really matter. Like, this is just going to be like some general advice. So, my first tip is to, first of all, you need to have the mindset to make friends. So, like, you can't go into it being super negative and being like nobody's gonna like me and I suck as a person. Like, if you're gonna go into it trying to make friends with that sort of mindset, you're not gonna probably make any friends. And I'm saying this because I used to be like this, like throughout high school, because I had a lot of experience previously with being bullied really bad and just having a lot of really negative relationships with people. And especially if you've been in like abusive relationships or just had some really horrible experiences. Like, I've had friendships that turned into quite abusive friendships, and people really used me and just, used the, because I'm a very compassionate and helpful person. Like, I will bend over backwards to people. But unfortunately, there's people that will see that in you and then unfortunately manipulate you and use you. So, but I think it's really important though to, even if you have had negative experiences like I have, it it doesn't mean that every experience from there on out is going to be negative. So, making sure that you have a positive mindset in that, you know you are a good person for the most part and that you do have things to offer in a friendship, and figuring out what those things are and what values you have, what things you like doing, um, and who you are as a person. And it doesn't have to be super in depth, it can just be like, oh, well, some of my values is like, for me personally, I really value honesty. So I like to have relationships that are good communication, and people, if they're upset with me about something or if there's an issue, I really like to just say it very like black and white, kind of just lay it out on the table. I really don't like, dodging topics. I like to just sort it out. So for me, that's one of the things. But just going into it with a positive mindset of, I'm going to try my best to make friends, and these are the things that I value about myself, and these are the gifts that I have that I can offer in a friendship, and what I can give. And then going into that, would be to put yourself in some situations where you maybe can meet some new people, and this can be extremely challenging. This is honestly the reason why I have such a hard time making friends. is because I live in a very small town, number one, so there's not much to do socially, and it's very like more suited towards people who like doing like fishing or like sports and stuff. Like where I live, it's definitely not a place where there's lots of like art activities and like art get big art galleries and like musicals and all these sorts of things. So, for me, my interests are more suited towards like creative things, and where I live, it's not really suited for that. Unless you kind of move to like a bigger city, for instance. But regardless of maybe your geographical location, and it can be so hard, but for me, like I've just started a new job. So that's put me into a situation where I can start to meet new people. Haven't met many people because I only just started, but I'm hoping that we're starting this job because I work with women, like all women, because it's in a clothing store that's mainly suited towards women. But I'm, really hoping that I'm going to be able to meet some other people my age who work there also. And maybe I can start making friends with some people at work. And that is a new opportunity for me to make friends. Another way that I've made some friends is because I changed churches. So started going to a new church about a year ago. There's definitely not many people there my age, but there are a couple people. And I've just been helping out with the youth group and just doing like small things. And going to church, I obviously go like every Sunday or whatever, but yeah, just by doing that and like being a bit more open to talking to people. And it's really hard because I have social anxiety. But you know, trying your best just to like go up and meet a new person if you see someone, even though it can be so scary, like that's really the best way to actually have an opportunity to meet people. Because if you don't do that, you're never going to really meet anyone, talk to, and then you thought, oh, I don't really get along with them that well. Maybe give them a second go because sometimes you can actually get the wrong impression of people when it's like the first time meeting someone. So that is my second, making friends. I think it's important to recognize that you don't have to agree on everything and you don't have to have a bunch of things in common with someone to be friends with them. What I mean by this is like, you don't have to have the exact same values as our other person. Obviously, it helps a lot more, but you don't have to agree on everything. And, I am a very open person. I'm a Christian, so I have very, Christian based values for me personally. So when I become friends with people, it's definitely um like I do want some friends who have the same values as me because I think it's important to have, some main friends that have the same values, but that doesn't mean like I have so many friends, a lot of friends actually in my life who have very different views to me, very different political opinions, very different, opinions on medicine type things and life events and a bunch of things, lifestyles, all sorts of things. And I've had friends with complete different religions to me. Like, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't be friends with somebody just because you don't agree on something. And I think it's pretty immature, to be honest, if you can't respect that person and still get along with them. Um, and so I think like definitely be open. Just because someone has different value or different, you know, whatever they have going on doesn't mean that you can't be friends with that person. Doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but you can still hang out with them occasionally or, like have fun and talk about the things you do have in common. That's what I do with my friends. Like we always talk about music, for instance, because a lot of my friends and I are into the same music. We love tattoos, so we'll talk about, oh, what, like that's so cool, you got this new tattoo lately, or have you heard this song, or different things. My last tip is that, you're going to have friends for different things. Like you may have one friend that you tell your more personal things to. Like you may, like I have some friends in my life that I personally will tell them more about what's going on with my mental health, like the more serious stuff. And I'll kind of keep them up to date and I'll allow them to see like my posts online that are very personal. Then I may have another, couple friends that are more like surface level. I kind of just hang out with them occasionally. We kind of just have fun. It's not really like anything real serious. I don't really lean on them for support. It's more just like a, hey, you want to go do this, or do you want to go have a coffee or something? It's not like a super. Um, I'm kind of relying on them in a way for support. So I think having different friends for different things is okay, because some people you're just not going to. I just, like some people, you don't want to be sharing your super personal details. If you've got like 20 friends, like you don't want to be like sharing the same thing over and over and over again to like a bunch of different people. Um, and so you may just have like one friend that you tell this thing to, and then another friend where you discuss maybe work with, and then you have another friend who you discuss like family issues with because maybe they've gone through family issues or they have mental illness too. Like some friends, I do not even bring up my mental health issues or disability at all, even though it impacts my life a lot, because it's just not really relevant for them. And I know that they don't really have much understanding of it, for instance. So I can tell that maybe they don't really know what to say. And that's totally fine. Um, so yeah, that's my other tip. Obviously finding friends as an adult is quite hard, especially if you're someone like me. Like I study online because where I live, again, it's small. The course I'm doing, you can't do it in person. I would love to do it in person because I'm studying counseling, but that's just no option for me, and I can't move. My family is here, and I, don't have the finances anyway to move somewhere else. Um, and that's how it is for a lot of people. You're kind of stuck maybe in a geographical location that isn't the best. Maybe um, you don't have access. I know a lot of the time when you have disabilities, whether it's mental, learning disabilities, maybe you have a neurological thing, maybe you have autism, intellectual disability, maybe you have physical disability or illness that prevents you from being able to get yourself maybe like dressed completely or do self-care or being able to actually get yourself like physically out of the house. Maybe you don't have a car because maybe you can't afford it, or maybe you can't drive because you're physically disabled. So there are a lot of barriers, and these things can make it really hard to make friends, and you can become very isolated. And I know there's been a lot of times in my life where I'm not even joking, I literally had no friends. Like no, not one person at all that I could rely on. And so I have a lot of online friends from different countries, and we sometimes face chat, like we do the video call, or we text each other pretty frequently. um, and so that's really great for me. That works really well. But I am pretty isolated, and I only just started working, but I haven't worked for 2 years. So then I was at home. I used to be at home on my own, um, 5 days a week, all day. The only time I'd see anyone was at nighttime when my family came home. And so I think you really have to get creative when you're living with maybe a mental illness or a disability. You have to start to get a bit creative. I used to go to a lot of like groups that were on. So one of them was an art group that was run by the mental health organization that's for youth where I live. I went and actually made a couple friends. And one of the people I made kind of friends with, I actually reconnected with recently. So those are all ways that maybe you could try to make friends, and I hope that helped you. I might make a part two because I don't want to make this video super long, but if you have any other suggestions on your tips and advice, please leave it down below. And I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.